The Puzzler was created by Jerry Siegel and John Sikela. He made his first appearance in Action Comics 49, published in 1942. The plot of this comic is kinda all over the place, but I'm gonna do my best to describe it. At the beginning of the story, the Puzzler, a mysterious new criminal in Metropolis, tries to kill a ping pong champion in the middle of a tournament. Superman stops it, of course, though. Apparently, the champ refused to pay tribute to the Puzzler, so the Puzzler is working some kind of protection racket or something. Puzzler then tries to kill the champ again, but is again foiled by Superman. Shortly afterwards, the Puzzler sends a note to Clark Kent, inviting him to an interview for some reason. However, Lois Lane sees the note first, and decides to go in his place and steal his scoop. During the interview, Puzzler reveals that he was always great at solving puzzles, and thus decided to use this skill for criminal endeavors. So there's your origin story. Then, for some reason, Puzzler decides to take Lois prisoner. He straps her to a chair and spins a wheel of fortune. If it stops on red, Lois will be electrocuted by a device on the chair. Naturally, Superman arrives on the scene though. However, instead of freeing Lois and beating the Puzzler to a pulp, he decides to play a game of checkers with him. If Superman wins, Lois is set free, but if he loses, she's fried. During the game, Superman, using his super eyesight or whatever, spots the Puzzler cheating, so he decides to do so himself, using super speed. And Superman wins the game. The Puzzler is a real son of a bitch though. Sure, he lets Lois go, but immediately after he tries to kill both her and Superman. Naturally, he fails. Next, the Puzzler begins sending Superman notes with clues on them, each leading to additional notes with clues on them. Are you following me so far? The final note reveals the Puzzler's latest crime. Why is Puzzler tipping Superman off? Well, as he himself puts it, it tickles his vanity to think he can outsmart Superman. So a proto-Riddler. Of course he couldn't, as Superman deduced all the clues. And no, he doesn't kick his ass this time either, as somehow the Puzzler's got Lois prisoner again. Will she ever stop being taken prisoner? Now the Puzzler wants to gamble with Lois's life over a game of cards. Superman, for some reason, accepts. And this time the Puzzler's goons join in the game as well, so the odds are 3 against 1. Superman, the clever guy that he is though, tricks the idiot goons into thinking the Puzzler is cheating, which makes them believe that he's always cheating, ergo when he's playing against them too. So they beat the shit out of him, and Superman saves Lois. At the end, the Puzzler attempts a desperate escape by climbing up the cables of a bridge. He is of course caught by Superman, but wiggles out of his jacket on purpose and falls to his apparent demise. Since Superman can't find his corpse though, he ponders whether the two of them will meet once again. And so they did, in Superman 20, published in 1943. This story is decidedly simpler than the previous one. The Puzzler enters a card game tournament in disguise, challenging the champions of poker, rummy, hearts, casino, blackjack, and bridge, and loses against them all. Pretty pathetic. I don't think the Puzzler is as skilled as he thinks he is. Anyway, the rest of the story follows Puzzler trying to get revenge on each of the champions. He attempts to kill them all in ironic fashions, like making the champion of hearts have a heart attack, or beating the champion of poker to death with a poker. Yeah. That's so stupid you'd think I was making it up, but no, it actually happens. Again, the Puzzler is naturally foiled by Superman. This time he's arrested, but escapes. The story ends with Puzzler promising he'll return again soon and challenge the Man of Steel once again. Which he didn't. He actually never returned again. For some reason, this was the Puzzler's last appearance. This version of the Puzzler, that is. Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler on the 60s Batman TV show, decided to not return in the role for the second season. However, the studio already had a Riddler script written. Instead of recasting though, they decided to rewrite the script to feature the Puzzler instead. As such, the Puzzler, a forgotten old Superman rogue with only 2 appearances to his name, appeared on the Batman TV show. He was played by Maurice Evans. This version of the Puzzler is essentially a Riddler stand-in, unsurprisingly. He sends clues to Batman and Robin to his crimes. Sure, comic Puzzler did that too, but it wasn't his main thing. TV Puzzler also has a thing for balloons for some reason, and loves to quote Shakespeare. At least half of his dialogue are Shakespeare quotes. The show gave the character a bit more personality than the old comics version had, and made his costume slightly more interesting, but at the end of the day it's still a poor man's Riddler. This Puzzler doesn't really have anything to do with games, which the comic version was completely obsessed with. By the way, why did they name the character the Puzzler in the first place? The Gamester would seem far more appropriate. Anyway, the Puzzler did not return on the show, as the next time they had a Riddler script, they simply decided to recast, casting John Astin in the role. And for season 3, Frank Gorshin finally decided to return. Needless to say, the Puzzler is one of the show's least popular or remembered rogues. The character's appearance on the Batman show didn't exactly help him in the comics either. It didn't result in a single new appearance. 20 years later though, he did however, for some weird reason, get a profile in DC's Who's Who series. Why they decided to do a profile on a character who hadn't appeared in over 40 years, I have no idea. When DC rebooted the Superman universe in 1986, it seemed like an opportunity to bring back a revamped Puzzler. They had just given him a Who's Who profile after all. Maybe that's what they were planning. If they were though, those plans must have fallen through, as we didn't get a new Puzzler post-crisis. Well, I guess we did, but not until almost 20 years later. In Superman Volume 2, Issue 187, published in 2002, we got a brand new Puzzler, a female Puzzler. This one was completely different from either of the 2 previous Puzzlers. She was a woman who could split her body into multiple pieces, like a puzzle. This Puzzler also finally had a real name, Valerie Van Haaften. She only appears very briefly in the issue and fights Superman alongside a bunch of other villains. We don't find out much about her, like how she got her powers. She does mention being a big fan of Superman though, and that becoming a supervillain was the only way she figured she could get his attention. If this is really true or just sarcasm isn't made entirely clear. Clearly, DC didn't really care about this Puzzler either though, as she made no further appearances until 2006. This was in issue 652 of Superman. She does have a slightly bigger role in this one, being hired by Intergang to kill Clark Kent. Of course, she gets her hands full with Superman instead. This comic didn't really reveal any more information about her either, and she was still pretty much a blank. The only other appearance of note that Valerie Van Haaften made was in a Super Friends kids comic in 2010. In this comic, she joins a crew of supervillains led by the Riddler, and tries to solve an ancient puzzle that supposedly leads to a treasure. Cute stuff. And that was the last appearance of Valerie Van Haaften, in my opinion, the most promising puzzler. She wasn't the last puzzler though. The New 52 gave us this thing. A robot, who appeared in like a few panels in a couple of issues. Originally a human and the son of Vandal Savage for some bizarre reason, this dude had his consciousness transferred into a robot body, and called himself the Puzzler for some reason. He didn't really do anything, and I hope we never see him again. So the Puzzler. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't like any of the Puzzlers, except for the female one. The original was really boring and bland and forgettable. I think Jerry Siegel realized that himself too. He was obviously being set up as a new arch foe for Superman, but then they just dropped him. A villain obsessed with games is not a bad idea though, but the Puzzler just wasn't written well. He was all over the place and had no real personality. Plus that incredibly dull design. He's just a dude. Why no costume? Hell, even the other puzzler from the Golden Age looked better. Remember him? The Black Terror villain who only made one single appearance? His costume was kinda crap, but at least he had a costume. Just a guy with a goatee and glasses. He makes Hugo Strange look exciting. The Batman version from the Adam West show is not very good either. He has a more entertaining personality and Maurice Evans' performance certainly helps, but at the end of the day, he is just a poor man's Riddler. And let's not even talk about the new 52 version, because that's just dumb garbage. Now, Valerie Van Haaften, the third puzzler, she showed promise. I love her design and power. A woman made out of white puzzle pieces that can split away. That is just simply really cool. It's a strange and very creative concept. She immediately catches your eye too. I really don't know why they didn't do anything with her. What a missed opportunity. If she is obsessed with Superman and simply wants his attention, as she states in her first appearance, that could be potentially interesting as well. Batman has plenty of those villains, but Superman doesn't really. To be honest, the only real reason I made this video was because of Valerie. She's a really cool villain that should make a comeback, and should actually be used and explored. What are your opinions on the puzzler, or should I say puzzlers? Do you like any of them? If so, which ones? Or don't you like any of them? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.